Chapter 12, Zoe and Colleen. On Wednesday, two little girls sat together on the bus, backpacks on the floor at their feet, talking non-stop all the way to Auntie's house. Zoe was so busy talking, she forgot to point out the little blue house to Colleen. She forgot to feel sad. Auntie was sitting on the big porch rocker when the bus pulled up to the driveway and spilled two giggling girls down its steps. Zoe's little friend looked ready for action in her purple rubber garden boots and a matching broad-brimmed hat. Auntie waved to the girls. They waved back, then raced for the porch with Colleen's boots slurping loudly as they ran. The girls reached the porch step, gasping for air. Zoe wasted no time. "Auntie, this is Colleen. Colleen, Auntie." Before long, the three of them sat around the table eating peanut butter cookies, drinking licorice-flavored anise hyssop tea, and talking like old friends. Colleen told Auntie all about her love for bees and her plans to someday grow the biggest pollinator garden ever. She named off the flowers she planned to grow and talked about her favorite varieties. She promised to bring her seed catalog collection the next time she came so she could show it to Auntie. Auntie only nodded because Colleen was talking so fast she couldn't get a word in edgewise. Zoe sat quietly with a big grin. She could see that Auntie and Colleen already liked each other. Auntie finished her tea and retrieved a fresh sketchbook from the kitchen counter for Colleen, who wrapped her arms around the book and hugged it to her chest. "You know, I love my catalogs, but I've been wishing for a plant journal just like Zoe's," said Colleen. She turned to her friend with shiny eyes and a wide smile. "You'll have to teach me how to use this, Zoe. Now we can both draw during recess. I can't wait." Zoe jumped up and retrieved her journal from her backpack so the lessons could start right away. Auntie gathered the teacups. Colleen opened her journal and stopped talking long enough to start copying the headings from Zoe's journal. "The first rules of seed saving," explained Zoe patiently, "are to know the difference between an annual, biennial, and perennial, and to know how your plant is pollinated." "Believe me, I know that one from reading my seed catalogs," said Colleen. "And I know a few things about bees." Both girls started laughing as if that was the funniest thing they had ever heard. Auntie just shook her head. "How about minimum population and roguing?" challenged Zoe. "Okay, you've got me there. What did you just say?" After much bantering and laughter, Colleen's notes mirrored Zoe's, and they made a plan to fill in the drawings over the next week of recesses. By then, they had emptied the plate of cookies and were ready to go outside. "Come on, Colleen, I want to show you everything." They sprang from their chairs and chased each other out the door. Ignoring the steps, they leaped from the porch and ran toward the garden, laughing as they struggled to keep up with each other. Zoe's first stop was a special place she knew Colleen would love. Colleen always talked about a particular bee superfood perennial, and Zoe knew that Auntie loved that plant as well. She stopped in front of a row of waist-high plants with spiky lavender blossoms. Colleen noticed the plants gave off a scent of licorice, and her eyes widened in recognition. "Is this anise hyssop? I have only ever seen it in my catalogs. It's supposed to be really good for—" Her chatter stopped when she noticed the bumblebees that flew between the lavender flower spikes. They landed and crawled around, harvesting nectar from tiny individual blossoms. "Zoe," whispered Colleen, "look at the bees." "I know," Zoe whispered back. The girls moved in slowly for a closer look, just as Auntie arrived with their plant journals. Without a word, they opened to a new page and began to sketch the bees on the anise hyssop. Colleen made quick circles to represent the bees before they took off. She couldn't seem to capture much detail, which frustrated her at first, until she peeked over and noticed Zoe's drawings didn't have much detail either. After she labeled bumblebees on anise hyssop, the date, and the location, she understood the magic of the label for defining her drawing, good or bad. Zoe was wrapped up in her own drawing until she looked up and noticed that Colleen stood frozen, holding a single anise hyssop flower spike between her fingers. A fat bumblebee worked its way up and down the flower, tending to her nectar and pollen gathering. When the bee took off, tears rolled down Colleen's cheeks. In an instant, Zoe was by her side. "I thought the bees were doomed," said Colleen. "It's made me sad for so long. But they aren't doomed here, are they, Zoe?" She took a deep sniff and wiped her eyes. "There's so many of them. I had no idea there were still so many bees left." Zoe gently put her arm around her friend. "They're here because we gave them their favorite foods. We're helping them, and they're helping us. Colleen, I promise, we're going to keep helping them." Colleen nodded and pulled her friend into a spontaneous hug. "Speaking of helping the bees," Auntie said, interrupting the moment, "I have something exciting to show you both." She led them to the row of drama queen poppies, where Zoe first started her seed saver's journey. The row was quiet now. The beautiful flowers had been replaced by a row of tall sticks with brown, marble-sized balls on top. Zoe looked and noticed a row of tiny window-shaped holes under the star-shaped cap at the top of the ball. She poked at it with her finger and discovered the ball was crispy. It swayed on its dry stem and returned to its upright posture. "Can you guess what it is?" asked Auntie. Before Zoe could say a word, Colleen squealed in delight. "I know what those are. I've seen them in my books." She turned and asked politely, "Can I pick one?" "Of course. Help yourself." She seemed amused by Colleen's spunk. Zoe watched Colleen snap the stem and tip the ball into her hand. Black sand spilled out of the little windows into her palm. "Aha! These are the seeds. Look at this, Zoe." She shoved her hand toward Zoe so quickly that some of the seeds spilled from it, and the girls laughed. Zoe snapped her own stem and filled her palm with the dark seeds. She thought back to the first day with her plant journal when she drew poppy seeds. She didn't know how to draw. She didn't know about plants, and she didn't have a friend. Now she had all three. Happiness bubbled inside her chest. Auntie took a pencil and 2 little brown envelopes out of her pocket and popped them open so the girls could pour the seeds from their hands. "Here you go. Paper envelopes are the best way to store your seed harvest, and of course, here's a pencil to label them." "This is great," said Colleen, "but we still have room in our envelopes. Can we go gather some more?" "Of course. Take as many as you can fit," said Auntie. Colleen grabbed Zoe's hand, and together they skipped down the row in search of more ripe poppy heads.